We have Drew Silverman, marketing manager, proposal writer for Baker Tilly, and we're going to discuss a few topics. The first one we're going to talk about is something that Drew is very good at, which is writing. I'm going to have Drew take it over, and then we'll talk more about writing and how it's influenced his career.
Yeah, thanks, Caleb. I think I've always felt that writing really is one of the top three things that you learn in school. It's one of the most important. It's really one of the most important skills you can have at any job. So I am a writer, so obviously writing is particularly critical to me. But at almost any job you can have at any company, writing really is near the top of the list of the most important things you'll be able to do there. Obviously, in this day and age, emails are so prevalent. So writing emails is important, but writing presentations, everything from writing your cover letter when you first started a company or first start the whole process, to writing for a lot of people is everything they do at a job. I think within the grand scheme of writing, to me the most important thing is knowing your audience.
Okay.
I've always felt that a lot of people struggle to understand that. A lot of people, whether it's writing or talking, a lot of people tell the same stories to the same people. A lot of people talk the same way to everybody, and really you have to know who you're talking to, how interested they are in that topic, and essentially how to reach them and how to get through to them.
Yeah, so as a marketer and as a writer, right, that's the same. It's an open line of communication, and for you it's writing. Other people might say it's visuals or anything like that. But talk about writing in your career, because you started out as the traditional, I guess, sports journalism writer, and then how it's evolved because you've had several different audiences, several different jobs, and the people you're writing to and the content that you're writing is different.
Yeah, sure. So I started off at ESPN, did NBC Sports and a lot of sports writing jobs, and obviously when you're writing a recap of a basketball game, that is so much different than writing proposals, which is what I do now. When people say writing, a lot of people kind of think like, oh, I can write or I can't write, but there are so many different types of writing. The type of writing that I do now is essentially like your persuasive type of writing that a lot of people even start in middle school, high school, where you have to pick an argument and then kind of persuade the teacher about that. So that's essentially what I do now with proposals, where I'm trying to basically tell a company why they should choose us, why they should do business with us, and essentially make our case to a company, which is certainly different than sports writing, but they're both types of writing, whether it's informative or whether it's persuasive. Those, I think they come up quite often in most people's careers at some
Sure.
point.
So with writing, how do you approach writing? Because we have students here who they might write for the assignment, or they might write to get their thoughts out. They might write for poetry or to write a song or anything like that. But how do you approach writing, and what could they take out of that?
Well, I definitely think planning, outlining is pretty important. I do believe that you save a lot of time just by planning out the process in advance rather than just starting put words down. So the plan, I think, is pretty important in the writing process for me. Communication right from the very beginning. I work with a lot of people to put together the proposals that I do, so I'm not afraid to reach out to people right from the very beginning to answer my questions, essentially right off the bat, rather than wasting time, rather than getting halfway through it and realizing there was some kind of miscommunication there. So I would just say the more you can do right off the bat, communication, planning, thinking about it from all angles, thinking about your audience, like I mentioned before. The more you can do before you start that first word, I think it'll save you time in the long run.
Okay, and then some just last minute advice to wrap up on writing, like how could they get better at it?
Well, writing's a skill like anything, so it can be practiced. You can, when I first started in my career, I didn't start as a writer. I started doing essentially answering phones at ESPN. And what did I do? I asked some of the writers if I could stay late, if I could, sit with them and shadow them and watch how they write and kind of start to pick their brain a little bit. So you can always, spend time with people who write and really get to know what they do and know how they kind of work their craft. And aside from that, I would just say, practice, reading other people. For example, for me, so I'll look up other proposals. I'll read other proposals of people I work with at other companies. Just the more things you can put your eyes on, the more ideas that go through your head, and I think that's probably one of the best ways to expand your skill set.
Sure. So where writing might be kind of like a dying art, if you want to call it that, I think these are, you know, valuable tips, advice, and true experiences that Drew has experienced that you guys could learn from in terms of your writing. And, you know, like he mentioned, it's a skill. So when you're writing, always just think about what you're trying to achieve, the audiences that you're trying to reach, and hopefully this will help you out as you get better at writing. Thank you.
You're welcome.